Let's talk about something that can completely change how you think about email marketing. We're diving into behavioral email triggers, which are, well, basically an automated revenue engine. All right, here's the line that changes everything. The majority of marketing revenue is not generated by the weekly newsletter, it's generated by emails sent automatically while you sleep. Let that sink in for a second. Think about all that effort, the meetings, the creative energy that goes into that weekly broadcast. And yet, it's often overshadowed by this quiet, efficient system that just runs itself. This isn't just random automation, you see. It's a strategy that responds to your customers the instant they show interest. It is a total shift in thinking. So the big question is, what are the 3 non-negotiable, high ROI email triggers that can transform your CRM into a perpetual motion sales machine? Because look, this isn't about sending more email. It's about sending the right email at the absolute perfect moment. So today, we're gonna focus on 3 super specific, high leverage triggers that can literally change your business. Let's break down what they are and why exactly they work so well. Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll start with what I call the automation paradox. Basically, the problem that made this whole strategy necessary. Then we'll get into the 3 core triggers themselves. We'll look at the psychology of why they work, a framework for mastering them, and finally, how you can build your own perpetual revenue engine. All right, first up, the automation paradox. To really get why these triggers are so incredibly powerful, you first have to understand the crisis that forced this smarter strategy into existence. So here's the problem. We hit an email saturation crisis. The modern inbox, it's just a war zone for attention, right? The old strategy of just blasting out a generic newsletter to your entire list, it just stopped working. Open rates just fell off a cliff. People were tuning it all out. So to survive, marketing had to get way smarter. The focus had to shift from sheer volume to pinpoint relevance, from just broadcasting at people to starting conversations based on what they were actually doing. And this really shows that core shift perfectly. On one side, you have the old manual broadcasts, tons of effort, not very relevant, and sent whenever the company decides. But on the other side, behavioral triggers. They're automated, they're hyper-relevant, and most importantly, they're sent on the customer schedule. This was a complete revolution. Why? Because the system finally got smart enough to realize that a user abandoning a shopping cart isn't a failure. No, it's one of the most valuable signals of intent you could ever get, and it demands an immediate automated response. Okay, so now let's pop the hood and look at the engine of automated revenue. These aren't just, a few random email ideas. We're talking about 3 very specific codified sequences that are designed to capitalize on the absolute most critical moments in any customer's journey. And here they are, the 3 high leverage triggers. First up, cart abandonment. Think of this as your recovery loop. Its whole job is to recapture lost sales. Next, we have trial and activity, the habit fix. This one is all about driving product adoption. And finally, the post-purchase upsell, which is your LTV multiplier. Its goal, to increase the value of every single customer you have. Each one has a very distinct job and a really clear, measurable goal. All right, let's dive into the first one, probably the most famous and highest ROI trigger of them all, cart abandonment. This is the recovery loop. It's basically the safety net for your entire sales process. It exists for one reason and one reason only, to get back the revenue that's about to slip through your fingers. And a good cart abandonment sequence isn't just a gentle nudge, it's a strategic intervention. It's got to be short, it needs to create urgency, and maybe it offers a little incentive, but its real power comes from leveraging a psychological bias we're going to talk about soon called loss aversion. The key here is that this email intercepts the customer at their absolute peak moment of intent. They've already done all the hard work. This just gets them over the finish line. Okay, trigger number 2 is the habit fix. This one is absolutely critical for software, subscription services, really any product where user engagement is the key to keeping them around. And this one isn't about selling, it's about helping. So this sequence fires off when a user signs up, but then they just stall out. They never get to that aha moment where the product clicks for them. Now, according to BJ Fogg's behavior model, this is usually an ability failure. Something is just too confusing. So this email doesn't try to sell anything, it helps. It might point them to a tutorial, a great case study, or a link to chat with support. The only goal here is to remove that friction and get them back on the path to success. And finally, our third trigger, the post-purchase upsell. This is the LTV multiplier. This is how you turn a one-time customer into a repeat high-value client. I mean, the hard work of getting that first sale is already done. This trigger just automates the process of making that customer even more valuable over their lifetime. Now, timing is absolutely everything with this one. You don't just blast this out the day after they buy something. No, you wait. You wait for the data to confirm they're actually using the product and getting value from it. Then you present the upsell not as a brand new sale, but as the logical next step for them. This taps right into the psychological principle of commitment and consistency. They've already said yes to you once. Saying yes again just feels like a natural continuation of that good decision. Okay, so we've covered the what. Now we get to the really fascinating part, the why. Why do these triggers actually work so well? Well, it's because these automated systems are built on a really deep understanding of human psychology. This isn't just about code. It's about having conversations that tap directly into powerful cognitive biases. Just look at this comparison. For cart abandonment, the psychological lever is loss aversion. This is the simple idea that the pain of losing something is a way stronger motivator than the pleasure of gaining it. Then for the post-purchase upsell, the lever is the consistency principle. Once we make a decision, we feel this powerful internal pressure to stick with it. These aren't just marketing tricks, folks. This is fundamental human nature. So let's really define this. Research from psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky showed that the negative feeling you get from losing $100 is roughly twice as intense as the positive feeling from finding $100. So when a customer abandons a cart, they're not just walking away from some products. In their mind, they're on the verge of losing items they've already mentally taken ownership of. That cart abandonment email is specifically designed to amplify that feeling of potential loss and drive them back. And this is such a crucial point. It's not just about the products in the cart. The email also reminds them of the time and effort they've already sunk into finding and choosing those items. That's the sunk cost fallacy working in your favor. They've already put in the work, and the thought of all that effort going to waste just adds another layer to the pain of loss. It makes the impulse to just go back and finish the purchase incredibly strong. Now let's look at the other side of that coin, consistency. This principle, which was popularized by Dr. Robert Cialdini, explains that we all strive to make our actions consistent with our words and our past behaviors. So when a customer buys something from you, they've made a commitment. They've basically taken a stand that says, hey, I believe this brand provides value. The post-purchase upsell simply gives them an opportunity to be even more consistent with that belief. It feels less like a new decision and more like just continuing a good decision they already made. Okay, theory and psychology are great, but let's get practical. How do you actually build this thing? Well, it all comes down to a really clear 3-step framework for implementation. This is how you translate all these ideas into an automated system that actually works. Step 1, identify the high-intent actions. You have to decide the precise user action that's going to fire each trigger. Is it abandoning a cart for exactly 60 minutes or trial an activity for 3 days? You need to define this with cold, hard logic. Step 2, engineer the sequence. Cart abandonment emails need to feel short and urgent. Inactivity emails need to be genuinely helpful. The design has to match the goal. And finally, step 3, you must measure revenue per trigger, or RPT. This is the ultimate metric. It's the proof that your system is actually generating profit. And when you've mastered it, your revenue chart starts to look like this. That bar on the left, your manual broadcasts, well, it'll always be there. But the bar on the right, the revenue from your automated triggers, should grow to meet it, and then, eventually, surpass it. That is the proof. That's how you know you have a system that's making money for you while you sleep. And that brings us right to our conclusion. When you put all of these pieces together, the strategy, the triggers, the psychology, and that framework, you create something truly powerful. You create your very own perpetual revenue engine. So, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. The secret isn't volume. It's not about shouting louder or sending more emails. It's about timing and relevance. It's about whispering the right message at the exact moment the customer needs to hear it. You're applying the cold logic of automation to some really profound human psychology. By setting up these 3 high-leverage sequences, you are literally transforming passive user data into an active, predictable, and ever-growing stream of profit. Because ultimately, that's what this entire system is all about. The best marketing doesn't push people through a funnel. It pulls them toward value because it sends the right message at the perfect moment. It's not about forcing a sale. It's about recognizing a moment of high intent and just pulling that person toward the value they were already looking for. It's about perfect timing, perfect relevance, and the quiet, undeniable power of automation when it's done right.